much.
Well, it is Wednesday, and that means plant and garden expert Craig Hignite is joining us in studio, taking your plant and garden questions through the Facebook Live, the WQAD Facebook Live. So let's kick this off. A lot of people are trying to get outside. It's so nice out, or has been.
It is, yeah.
I know that I've been out there trying to clean up. So let's talk about this. Okay, so Barb is asking, I have a lot of moss in my hosta garden. Should I remove it or keep it?
Moss just means that you're growing the hostas in the shade. That's where the moss grows. It doesn't need to be removed. It's not harming anything. If you really don't like moss, or it's someplace that you just can't have it, you use Consan 20 to go ahead and get rid of moss.
Perfect. Well, would some ashes from a walnut tree help my garden when I till it?
Very few ashes in the garden. It is very caustic. It can just really shoot that pH right through the roof. So don't use a lot of ashes in the garden.
Text submission came in and said, I see these, oh gosh, hard one here.
Zoysia? Is that what you're saying?
Zoysia?
Zoysia.
Farm grass plugs. Are you familiar with them, and do they work?
Zoysia is a very good grass. It knits very tightly. It has to have full sun. It will not grow in the shade at all. It chokes out the weeds. The only problem is that it's brown from about September until now. It doesn't stay green like bluegrass does during the winter.
Okay, so this is from Barb. I have a lot of moss in my hosta garden.
Oh yeah, we actually
did
just
that.
went through that one.
I know.
Sometimes those
gracious,
questions
I'm sorry.
don't
Yeah,
come
ours
in
aren't in the same order.
Yeah,
So well, my bad. All right. Well, I will move on to Sandy because she has a long one. So I have a creeping Charlie type plant that has outgrown its pot. We repotted once, but out too much stress on it. Now it's about 3 feet long. I'm wondering what I can do to make sure it's getting enough nutrients.
Well, you should be fertilizing on a regular basis. I normally suggest fertilizing at least once a month. Follow the directions on the label. They'll tell you to use the fertilizer up as fast as possible. They don't want a lot of nasty letters from people that misuse the fertilizer and damage their plants.
Mick is asking, how can I get rid of ground bees?
Ground bees. What you have to do is identify where the nest is. You stake it during the day. You go out at night, and you're going to have some, let's say 7 powder, You're going to put a couple of tablespoons of that down the hole, put a pot of soil, just dump soil on it. As they dig their way out, they get 7 all over themselves, and they die.
Alrighty, well, Deb is asking, how do I trim my leggy hydrangea bush?
Hydrangeas, if it's one of the white varieties that bloom on the new wood, they should all be taken down to about 6 to 8 inches above the ground right now. If it is a colored hydrangea, that's blue and pink, you wait until after the first heavy flush of bloom, and then you go ahead and cut them back. If you prune them now, you'll be cutting off the early bloom. They bloom best on old wood.
Curdy is wondering, since impatiens are a shade-loving plant, would they make a good house plant?
Not really. Shade and in the house are two animals, separate. Shade outside, they're still getting a lot of indirect light, a lot of air movement, plenty of heat. In the house, we all pull the shades to keep the heat out, so it's even darker. And impatiens just don't make the greatest houseplant, although you can bring them through the winter, just keep the carcass alive from one year to the next, but impatiens really need to be outside.
Alrighty, well, this one's from Penny. She's asking, when is the best time to replant hostas?
Hostas, I'd be doing it now. Right now, hostas are only in the spike stage. They're just a little spike sticking up out of the ground. Lift them, move them, get them back in the ground. If you do it later, once the leaves start to unfold, you're going to have a lot of damaged foliage that you're going to be looking at all summer.
You do not want that. Gloria is asking, how often should I be watering my aloe plant?
Aloe plant, you run it dry. It gets drier than a regular house plant. I can't tell you how often because it's light, temperature, humidity, size of plant, size of pot. Just remember, let it dry down better than your regular house plants. Water thoroughly when you do water, and always drain that excess that comes out the bottom. We never want water to soak up from the bottom.
Alrighty, well, this one's from Robert. So my forsythia bush has no buds at all this year. My stems are long and stringy. What can I do to revive it? It is over 30 years old. Has it seen its best days?
Well, it probably has seen its best days, but you can give it a rejuvenation pruning. Since it's not blooming, I would watch the other forsythia in the neighborhood, and when they're all done blooming, you take this guy down to about 1 foot above the ground. You're getting rid of all that old growth. This rejuvenates the entire plant. Make sure that you do give it a shot of organic fertilizer, and invest some water in August and September to get the plant built up and get good buds for next year's bloom.
All right, here's a question I think a lot of people have. Karen's wondering, is it time to put out our plants, and is it also time for hummingbird feeders?
I think it's a little early on the hummingbird feeders and even earlier on the plants going outside. Plants really need 50 to 55 degrees at night consistently. We're getting some beautifully warm days, but the nights are still too cool at this point. Remember, May 15th is our frost-free date.
All right.
Alrighty, well, Lynn is asking, can I transplant daffodils and hyacinths in my garden now?
No. Now that they're up and growing, you have to let them go completely dormant. Mark the area where they are with stakes or something like that. You will lift, divide, and replant the 1st of September.
We've got many more questions to get to. We're going to take a short break. In the meantime, get your plant and garden questions in the comment section of the Facebook Live. We'll be right back.
Stay with us. Welcome back. We are talking to our plant and garden expert, Craig Hignite, and let's get things going again with Johnny saying, can I uncover strawberry plants?
Yes, uncover your strawberries now, but don't get rid of the straw. In case we get down to 20 again, I really hope that doesn't happen. You have to cover them when the temperature gets down to 20.
Kim is wondering, can't seem to get my azalea bush to bloom. Does it need special fertilizer?
Yes, it does. It needs an acid reaction fertilizer. That would be Hollytone. It also needs a really nice mulch bed around it. Azaleas are very, very shallow rooted, so you want a mulch bed clear outside the diameter of the plant. And of course, there again, watch your watering in August and September.
Alrighty, Evelyn is asking, why does my rhubarb go to seed before the stalk is ready?
That's just natural. Like any perennial, it's trying to bloom. I just had a discussion with a customer the other day. When you see that flower stalk and you can tell it's not a new leaf, get it out of there as fast as possible.
Pete says, why is the center of my ground cover looking like it's dead?
Well, could be that voles got in there during the winter. If you've got a really nice bed of ground cover, you can always go ahead and transplant clumps from another area back into the middle. Again, some organic fertilizer is definitely going to help build that back up.
Alrighty, Donald is asking, when and how do you prune climbing roses?
Climbing roses actually get pruned in June. That is after the first heavy flush of growth or bloom. And you take the tallest stems and you cut them down to about 6-8 inches above the ground. And you start with the tallest one, working your way down. And I usually stop when I get to about chest high as far as the growth is concerned. Then as that new growth comes up from the bottom, you kind of work them in to fill all those empty spots that you made in the plant.
Okay. Sandra is asking, are there any fertilizers and weed control that are pet friendly?
You know, the organic fertilizers are definitely pet friendly. If you get the corn gluten meal for your pre-emergent herbicide, that is pet friendly. It's actually a food supplement for cattle. So those are two things that you can do that are pet friendly in the garden.
All right, well, this is from Denise. When will we see hummingbirds?
You know, hummingbirds, I'm really not planning on seeing them until, you know, probably late April, early May. But there again, Mother Nature's playing with this year, kids. It's really neat. Our hummingbird at home, when he shows up, he flies around the outside of our sliding glass door telling us, I'm back. Get the feeder
Ready
out.
for food.
Oh, yeah.
Todd's wondering, is there recommend a grass that would grow anywhere?
Well, really, bluegrass will do well, not quite so well in the shade. That's why you normally have some fescue mixed in there. So a mixture of bluegrass and fescue should grow in both sun and shade.
All right, well, this is from Caitlin. Can I start planting / landscaping with perennials? She typically waits until after Mother's Day.
Well, you know, they're putting perennials out in the nursery already. The thing is, like I was saying, you have to keep that hose ready. In case we get a frost, you're out there before the sun comes up, spraying everything down to break the frost before the sun hits the plants.
I need to get my walnut trees trimmed, but how much should be trimmed?
Well, of course, you never take more than a quarter of any plant. When we're talking about a mature tree, I would actually be talking to an arborist about getting this done, especially if you have to get more than 2 steps up a ladder to do the pruning. It's better to use a professional.
All right, this is from Sue. How to trim back a mandeville that was inside all winter?
Well, Mandevilla, they can have a light pruning now. Remember, we are in the danger zone right now. We're not running furnace. We're not running air conditioning. The plants are not drying down the way they did during the winter. So make sure that you let them dry out a little bit. And just a very light pruning should go ahead and force new growth coming up out of the plant. Again, never more than a quarter of the bulk of the plant in any one pruning.
Cindy wants to know how to get rid of lily of the valley.
Whoa, really? Okay, this is a desirable, and I'll tell you, Roundup will take it down. Make sure that you do use some surfactant because lily of the valley it sheds water. things don't, liquids don't stick to it very well, but Roundup with some surfactant should get the job done.
Alrighty, this is from Elaine. Is it too late to prune a cherry tree if buds have not yet opened?
No, now's the time. Get out there and get our spring pruning done on all of our fruit trees. We never skip a year of pruning on our fruit trees. It can really damage them to not prune them.
All right, Craig, thank you so much. We weren't able to get to all the questions, but that's fine. We got a lot through today. Let's get a live look outside from a Bridgepoint camera. It's nice to see that sunshine. We will be right back.